She tucked a sprig of rosemary into my bouquet every single week. Then her father handed me a check worth 6 years of my salary and told me to disappear. The first time I noticed it, I almost didn't say anything. Not because I hadn't seen it. I had every Friday for almost a month, tucked in behind the stems where you'd only find it if you actually looked. Just a small green sprig, nothing you'd notice unless you pulled the paper back and smelled it on your kitchen counter that night. I told myself it was decoration. Then I watched her wrap an order for the man ahead of me. Plain white lilies, no rosemary. A woman after me, tulips, nothing extra. Mine came last. Peonies and ranunculus, she said, sliding the bundle across the counter. That's what you asked for. That's me, I said. I know, she said. Her name tag said Naomi. She was maybe 27, with flower-colored dust on her forearms from trimming stems all morning, and a way of looking at you like she'd already decided something about you and wasn't going to say what. I took the bouquet, already turning for the door, and caught the smell before I saw it. Rosemary. I looked back. She was wiping down the counter like nothing had happened. Is this a loyalty thing? I asked. Only if you're loyal, she said. That's a bold assumption before I've even paid. Then pay and find out. The woman behind me cleared her throat like I was blocking a fire exit. I stepped aside, holding the flowers like they might go off. You know, most shops just put a business card in, I said. I'm not most shops. Clearly not. She leaned forward just enough that I forgot the line behind me. You're gonna be late for something. I'm never late. Then you'll have time to be confused outside. That got a laugh out of me. I didn't plan on giving. I had built a very orderly life around not overthinking small things before 9 in the morning. And there I was standing outside a flower shop in Denver, holding peonies that smelled like a herb garden, feeling like somebody had taken my Thursday and turned it sideways. If I had known that one sprig of rosemary was going to drag me into old money, a locked gate, and a father who thought people came with price tags, I might have finished admiring the flowers before making any decisions. That's the kind of careful man I am. Appreciate first, panic later. At the office, I tried to focus. I managed grant compliance for a nonprofit, which is exactly as thrilling as it sounds on paper and somehow duller in practice. My job was steady and predictable, and I liked steady. Steady didn't leave things folded into flowers and say nothing about it. My coworker Priya caught me staring at the bouquet on my desk. Either those flowers owe you rent, she said, or somebody left you a message. I turned the vase away. Nothing. She rolled her chair closer. That is the face of a man who found either a secret admirer or a parking ticket. You're not wrong on the drama, just the category. Florist, she guessed immediately. The one who does the funeral arrangement for my aunt. That's the one. She puts rosemary in things. Let's not read too much into an herb. Priya grinned. It's for remembrance, she said. People use it at weddings and funerals both. Weird plant. Versatile plant. I don't like riddles, I said, capping my pen harder than necessary. Priya's grin softened. She knew enough about the 2 years I'd spent with a woman who treated honesty like a moving target to understand why that landed flat. By the end of that relationship, I hadn't even argued anymore. I'd just packed a box and gotten my evenings back. Since then, I didn't chase, I didn't decode, I didn't beg people to say what they meant. So a sprig of rosemary should have stayed a nice smell and nothing more. By 6 that evening, it was still sitting on my counter. I called the shop before I could talk myself out of it. She picked up on the second ring. Bloom and Bramble, this is Naomi. Hi, this is the guy from the peonies. There was a pause, then a laugh, low and quick. I was hoping you'd figure that out. I almost opened with a joke about a customer satisfaction survey, but didn't want to seem too smooth. So I went with the truth instead. I wanted to ask about the rosemary. Of course you did. Is it a policy thing? It's a me thing. That's not really an answer. It's the only one you're getting over the phone. Do you want a better one in person? I looked at my empty apartment. Yeah, I said. I think I do. We met outside a bookstore 40 minutes later. She was in a denim jacket instead of the apron, hands in her pockets, no counter between us, and that alone changed something. At the shop, she'd been quick and armored by the job. Outside, she looked a little unsure, and that helped, because I never trusted a person who arrived at ease. Hi, she said. Hi, this is strange. Very observant. Ask me again after you find out if I do this for everyone. She looked briefly offended, then nodded down the street. Walk with me, and I'll confess the whole system. So what's the system? I asked as we started walking. Every 100th bouquet gets rosemary. It's for luck. Do I get a card explaining that? Only if you survive the first walk. High standards. I hand flowers to people who say surprise me and then complain when I do. I pointed at her. That's a clean hit. Something in me settled when she smiled at that. We talked about ordinary things first. Bad coffee near her shop. The man who insisted his condolence flowers should also look cheerful. The fact she'd trained as a florist because her hands needed something to do that wasn't following a schedule someone else built. What do you mean built? I asked. She waved it off. Long story. We ended up on a bench near the park sharing a bag of pretzels because neither of us wanted to be the one who called the walkover. You didn't ask why I gave you the rosemary, she said eventually. I assumed you liked me and were too professional to say so directly. That was part of it, she admitted, looking at the bag in her lap. You say thank you every week. That's a low bar. You'd be surprised where the bar usually sits. That's a little sad. It's honest. I asked about her family, mostly to keep the conversation moving, and her whole face changed the way weather changes, fast and total. They're complicated, she said. That usually means rich, difficult, or both. She almost smiled. Complicated covers it. Thank you for not pushing. I'm not a dentist. That got a real laugh. By the time I walked her to her car, 2 hours had gone by. I had fun, she said. Me too. You sound surprised. I'm suspicious of fun. It usually comes with paperwork later. She stepped a little closer. Not much. Much, but enough. I don't want this to be strange at the shop, she said. Then don't make it strange. There are rules there, actually. Then tell me the rules. She hesitated. Not tonight. That was the first small warning I chose to let pass. Okay, I said. Dinner Saturday. Yes, no hesitation, which surprised me too. The next morning I walked in and she was behind the counter with a coworker nearby, and when our eyes met, there was nothing there. No private joke, no warmth, just professional courtesy. Welcome in. What can I get started for you? I stopped mid-step. Peonies, I said slowly. Name for the order. That one landed. My name's on file. She typed it in without looking up. I moved aside and watched a plain, undecorated bouquet come across the counter to me. No rosemary. I walked out, and every cautious part of me started building a case. There it is. A game. Mood swing. Some boyfriend nobody mentioned. By that evening, I still hadn't texted her first. She called at 7. I let it ring twice longer than necessary. Hi, she said. Hi, I answered, careful. You sound like you're processing a return. I'm keeping things customer service friendly. She exhaled. You're upset. Not upset. Adjusting. I'm sorry about this morning, she said. My manager was right there, and one of the other girls already asked why I always slip something extra into your order. If people think I'm involved with a regular, I could lose shifts, maybe the job. Then why start it in the first place? Because I wanted to see you outside that counter before I talked myself out of it. That quieted me. And then this morning you walked in acting normal, and I panicked. Because if I smiled at you the way I wanted to, everyone would know. So I overcorrected. Badly, like an idiot. You didn't even use my name. I know. That wasn't overcorrecting. That was witness protection. I know, she said, and I heard something real slip into her voice. No performance in it at all. I didn't play you, she added. I needed to hear that, I told her. I don't like being left to guess. I'm learning that, she said. Fast learner, dangerous answer. She laughed, and something between us reset. Things moved forward after that. Never easy, but forward. At the shop, we kept it professional. She rang me up. Sometimes a small smile slipped through if no one was watching. Sometimes the rosemary came back. Outside the shop, we became ourselves. Saturday dinner turned into a walk that turned into her showing up at my apartment a week later with a bag of takeout, standing in the doorway like she was checking whether she belonged there. You can come in, I told her. The couch passed inspection last month. By who? My mother. That's serious. She has standards. She stepped inside and looked around. This feels like you, she said. Careful and slightly overorganized. Safe. I didn't know what to do with that word. That's the first time my apartment's been called emotionally impressive, I said. Don't let it go to your head, she said, taking off her jacket. A few weeks in, I brought her to meet my parents. My mother had the kind of warmth that made people confess things over dinner rolls. My father believed in silence unless someone needed a tool or coffee. Naomi was nervous in the car. You sure this isn't too soon? She asked. You didn't hesitate saying yes. I did too. I just tried. What did you tell them about me? That you're sharp, funny, and you put rosemary in flowers like it means something. It does mean something. I know, I said, and she went quiet for a second before laughing. Dinner went easier than either of us expected. My mother hugged her before she was fully through the door. My father showed her old photos of a boat he was restoring like it was a family member. Afterward, in the car, Naomi went quiet again. Your parents are kind, she said. They were on guest behavior. No, they're kind, I said. You don't have to talk about yours until you're ready. Doesn't that bother you? She asked. Yes, I said. But not enough to make you hand it over before you're ready. She reached over and rested her hand on mine for a few seconds before pulling it back, and that small gesture did more to my composure than any speech could have. She kissed me for the first time outside her apartment a few nights later, both of us doing that thing where neither person wants to say the night is over. I should go, I said. Probably. I have an early delivery. You always have an early delivery. That's employment for you. She looked at my mouth, not subtly. Naomi. Yeah, I'm trying to be respectful. I noticed, she said. You're making it difficult, I know. She kissed me first, brief and deliberate, a choice and not an accident. When she pulled back, she looked almost annoyed with herself. Okay, she said. That happened. I was present, I told her. Don't make jokes. I make jokes when my brain falls down the stairs. Good night, I said, and didn't ask to stay. She had too many locked doors in her life already, and I wasn't going to become another man pushing on one. 2 weeks after that, I was at her apartment helping her put together a small work table she'd bought, or supervising, since she'd handed me the instructions upside down and called it help. Her phone buzzed on the counter, once, then again. She glanced at it and turned it face down. Everything okay? I asked. Fine, she said, unconvincingly. 10 minutes later, someone knocked. 3 hard hits, not a neighbor's knock. She went still. A man's voice came through the door. Naomi, open it. Her face lost color. Who is that? I asked, standing close but not in front of her. My father. That was not the answer I expected. She opened the door with the chain still on. A man in his late 50s stood in the hallway, polished, controlled, angry in a quiet, expensive way. So it's true, he said, looking past her at me. This is not independence. This is a tantrum with a work schedule. Naomi crossed her arms. You need to leave, Dad. We've been trying to reach you for weeks, he said. I didn't ask to be found. His eyes moved to me. And you are. I told him my name. He didn't offer his hand. Of course, he said. He glanced at my hands, still holding a screwdriver from the half-built table, at the small apartment, at the whole ordinary shape of my life, and something in his expression made clear he'd already priced it. This isn't over, he said, and left. Naomi shut the door and stood with her hand on it for a long moment before turning to me. So that's my father, she said. I've had warmer visits to the dentist. That night, she told me the rest, that her family had built a real estate fortune, that there had been a plan for her since childhood involving a man from a family friends company, that she'd said no for over a year before they set an engagement dinner without asking her, that she'd left 2 days later and taken the flower shop job because it was hers and nobody could hand it to her or take it away. A week passed with a careful distance between us that neither of us named out loud. Then, on a Thursday morning, someone knocked on my apartment door at 7. It was him, alone, holding a flat envelope. Mr. Whitfield, I said, keeping one hand on the door. May I come in? No. Then the hallway will do. He held the envelope out. This is for you. What is it? A practical solution. That phrase has never once improved a conversation. Inside is a cashier's check, he said. It is more than you would earn in 6 years at your current salary. I looked at the envelope and, for one honest second, thought about my student loans, my aging car, the rent notice on my counter. Money like that isn't abstract when you count it the way most people count it. He saw the pause and it seemed to satisfy him. Tell her it became too complicated, he said. She will be upset, then she will recover and return to the life she was meant to have. I leaned against the doorframe. You practice that. I'm offering you dignity. No, I said, you're offering me a price. The reality is your daughter isn't a misplaced asset. His jaw tightened. You know nothing about what she needs. I know she needs people to stop making decisions about her behind her back. He set the envelope on the table by my door. Think carefully, he said, and left. I stood there a long time before I picked it up. It was heavier than it should have been. I told Naomi that evening. She opened the envelope with shaking hands and went very still. He offered you this, she said. Yes, to leave me. Yes. She set it down like it was something contaminated. I'm calling him right now. Not on the phone, I said. Not for this. She looked at me. You could have kept it and told me things got complicated. I could have, I said. Why didn't you? Because then he'd be right about me. She sat down slowly, and I told her the rest. that I cared about her, that I wasn't going to live inside her family's test of her, that if she wanted out, I'd respect it, and if she wanted me beside her, I would stand there. But I wouldn't take money to disappear, and I wouldn't be treated like an employee in someone else's private drama. She looked at me for a long moment, then stood. "Get your keys," she said. "We're going to my parents' house." "Are you sure?" I asked. "No," she said, "but I'm more tired than scared." The house sat behind a gate that looked unused by actual people. Her mother, Eileen, opened the door before we knocked, saw the envelope in Naomi's hand, and went pale. "We need to talk," Naomi said. Her father came out from a back room, phone in hand, and ended the call when he saw us. "Were you proud of yourself?" Naomi asked, throwing the envelope onto a side table. "This is between us," he said. "No," she said. "You made it about all of us when you showed up at his apartment." Eileen picked up the envelope with a trembling hand. "Robert," she whispered. "I was trying to correct a mistake," he said. Naomi let out a sharp laugh. "A mistake? You tried to buy my relationship like a bad investment. You walked away from everything we built without asking if I even wanted it," he said, his voice rising. "Mom," Naomi said, turning. "Worried people call. They ask. They listen. They don't show up with a check for the man I love." The room went still. She hadn't said that word to me yet, not out loud, and I didn't move because it wasn't my moment to take. Her father looked at me then. "And what do you want from this?" I could have made it easy on myself with a sharp answer. Instead, I stepped beside Naomi, not in front of her. "I want your daughter to be able to sit at a table without calculating what every sentence is going to cost her," I said. "I have a job and an apartment. I had a life before she put Rosemary in a bouquet, and I'll still have one if she decides tomorrow this is too much. I'm not here because of your money." "Then why are you here?" he asked. "Because she asked me to be," I said, and reached for her hand. He looked at our hands like evidence in a case he was losing. "You think love pays bills?" he asked. "No," I said. "My job does that." Naomi let out a small broken laugh through tears. Robert didn't find it funny. "This is not a joke," he said. "No," I agreed. "It's your daughter standing in your living room asking to be treated like an adult. That's fairly serious." Eileen stepped closer. "Did you really feel like you had to run?" she asked Naomi quietly. "Yes," Naomi said, and that single word landed harder than all the shouting had. "I didn't leave because I hated you," she went on. "I left because staying meant disappearing into a life everyone approved of except me. The dinners, the boards, the photos, all of it felt like being polite at my own funeral, and every time I said no, Dad heard not yet. Robert had no fast answer for that. "I wanted security for you," he finally said. "I wanted a choice," she answered. "You gave me options between versions of your approval." Something in his face cracked at the edges. "I didn't know another way to stop this," he admitted. "That's the problem," she said softly. He picked the envelope back up, looked at it like he was seeing it clearly for the first time, and turned to me. "I owe you an apology," he said. I didn't rush to make it easier for him. "Yes," I said. "You do. I came into your home," he continued. "I treated you like a problem to remove. That was wrong. I agreed." "I'm sorry," he said. I nodded once. "Thank you." Then he turned to Naomi, and that cost him more. "I thought I was protecting you," he said. "You were controlling me," she answered. He closed his eyes. Yes, Eileen was crying quietly now. "I don't know how to be part of your life if I'm not steering it," he admitted. "Then start by asking," Naomi said. "Are you coming home?" he asked, already knowing the answer. "No," she said, and let it hurt him. "Are you still with him?" "Yes." "Are you happy?" She glanced at me, then back at her father. "Yes," she said. "Not every minute. This has been a mess. But yes." He sat down slowly, still holding the envelope, and this time offered it to both of us. "Not to end anything," he said. "Not to buy anything. I can't undo what I tried to make this mean, but I can change what it means now. A start. A house, maybe, or whatever you choose. No conditions." I laughed once despite myself. "Something amusing?" he asked. "You're terrible at sounding casual about large sums of money," I said. Naomi looked between us like she might laugh and cry at once. "No conditions means no surprise visits, no calendar ownership, no more paying people to disappear," I added. He looked at his daughter. "He's not wrong," she said. Eileen wiped her face. "He's absolutely not wrong." Naomi took the envelope first, then handed it to me. "We decide together," she said. "Together," I repeated. That word carried more weight than the check ever could. We didn't buy a house the next week. Life doesn't hand you a clean ending just because you survived a hard conversation. Naomi kept the flower shop for a while longer, on her own terms, until she was ready to leave it for work coordinating events, work that made use of every skill she'd built, handling difficult people in expensive rooms. I kept my job. Our parents met 3 months later, a dinner awkward enough to count as exercise. My father shaking Robert's hand and saying, "I hear you tried to pay my son to disappear." Robert paused, then said, "It didn't work, did it?" "No," my father said. "He's stubborn, gets it from his mother." My mother threw a napkin at him, and Naomi laughed so hard she had to step away from the table. A year after she first tucked Rosemary into my flowers, we bought a small house with a driveway and a kitchen we both liked, and one room she claimed for her workbench before I'd even measured it. The down payment came from money that had started as an insult and ended as an apology, and we only accepted it after several long conversations and one handwritten note from her father that said, in plain language, "No conditions attached." She framed that note and kept it in a drawer, not on the wall. "I'm not decorating with family trauma," she told me. "Healthy choice," I said. "I have moments," she said. We still had dinners with her parents sometimes. Not every week. Boundaries stayed boundaries, and her father got better, which isn't the same as suddenly easy. He asked before making plans instead of announcing them. We didn't rush into a wedding either. We learned each other in ordinary life first, bills and grocery lists, and who leaves the porch light on. She still tucks a sprig of rosemary into things, just not at the shop anymore. Sometimes I come into the kitchen and find a small bundle of flowers on the counter with a sprig pressed in beside them and my name written on a card underneath. One morning I picked it up and said, "You know, this is exactly how the whole thing started." She leaned against the counter, smiling. "You called. You baited me. You liked the bait." "I liked the florist," I said. "Still do," she said. I walked over and kissed her slow enough to answer properly. "Would you have trusted Naomi again after that morning? She pretended not to know your name at the counter. And would you have taken the money if her father had offered it to you first?"